allow us to journey into these altered states.
It really whacked me psyche though, big time.
If you just sit reading books, it's the shadow because you're not going to be in your body.
Welcome to Creating Space, bringing people together. Real conversations with real people, telling stories and sharing our gifts right here in the heart of Liverpool, inspiring new ideas, education and co-creation.
Choose a challenge that lights you up and is going to make a difference in the world.
Creating Space.
Sponsored by the Scouse Guru app.
Okay, we're back. Episode 21, Creating Space. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we've got a female on the show today. Actually, with it's being pretty male dominated. We're creating space, and I think the conversations that I like to have are very much based around masculinity and the masks that we wear and human behaviour and because I'm a man, I'm able to relate to that so much. But we've got a great host, we've got a great person in today. My mate Lauren. Lauren's she's a mother of 3, and she runs an amazing establishment here in Liverpool called Wild Warrior Women. And we're going to be just talking about obviously Lauren's journey. And the journey that she has come to, where she's now holding space for women, and doing a lot of really great work that I feel like is incredibly necessary, and it's work which is real and it's authentic. And today we're definitely going to be leaning into some potential taboo or sticky conversations around the shadow, and around wounding and projections and stuff like that. And it's stuff that I'm always learning about and inspired to teach, and it sort of weaves its way through my teaching, but it's stuff I'm really getting to grips with in my own life as well. So I'm really looking forward to diving into all that. So let's just introduce my mate here, Lauren. Welcome to Creating Space, Lauren. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
I know we've just had a little bit of a sticky moment there. You were trying to find a car parking space, just getting lost in Liverpool and damsel in distress there, do you know what I mean?
Proper martyr.
I was like, I'm going to have to come and save you.
In all my masculinity.
But time's changed, hasn't it? It's like, we come through Liverpool city centre now, and I'm here quite often, so I know the routes and all that, but there's a lot going on, isn't there? And there's a lot changed,
Yeah.
I think certainly from the times I used to go out in Liverpool a lot of the time, do you know what I mean? And I like to come into town of a daytime and have a bite to eat, but not necessarily of an evening anymore, do you know what I mean?
When it's full of traffic.
Yeah, it was just, and it's full of, it's almost full of the dark side, isn't it? You know what I mean?
That's when I'm most vulnerable.
It's the shadow, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, leaning into this conversation today and talking about the shadow, I think almost, bars and alcohol, it almost is a breeding ground, isn't it?
Yeah.
To allow that energy to play out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I personally feel like we do need a container to allow that to play. You know what I mean? Because we it's projected, isn't it, onto the world all day, every day. And we'll talk about projections today and what all this means. But it's just great to have you here, mate. Do you know what I mean? As I said, it's good to have a female here. And I just want to lean into all matters related and talk about, your experience in Liverpool, as a mother, growing up, and how are things, how things unfolded over a period of time to bring you to where you are now, with the intention and motivation to do what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? So give us almost a brief overview of like who you are and what you do now, and then we'll go back in time then, and then we'll work our way forward.
Okay, so I would call myself probably a shadow work teacher or a self-development coach.
Nice.
I've always done that in the corporate world since I was 16. I was a team leader, and then I went on, worked my way up all the way in call centres to operations manager. So I was a businesswoman, but I loved coaching. That's where I come alive. Academy for kids, underprivileged kids in more poverty-stricken areas, which is, there's a lot in Liverpool, but it was my forte. I think that comes from background. So from the age of 16, I've ran with that. But they got a point in my life where they wanted to get rid of me because I was too busy. Instead of getting sales, I was too busy working on their own life skills.
Yeah.
Do you know? Like, what are you here? What's your purpose?
Yeah.
Well, come on, you want to be a nurse? Let's go. Do you know? There's no staff left.
What are you doing in here? What are you doing in here? What are you doing this?
My mate was the owner, and he was just like, Lauren, like,
Yeah. Gibbet,
I was
Lauren.
like, you want more? Let's go. Do you know? Yeah. So yeah, I done that, and I had a very, very, good childhood. I would say I had a good childhood, with a lot of unfortunate events, and this is where I feel like the work comes in. Do you know, when I'm working with women, the first thing everybody says is, I've had a good childhood. I've got okay parents, you know. And then you dive in and it's like, you know, this is why I've become the way I am and things like that, and the journey begins. But yeah, I certainly, I worked, I absolutely loved it, and then my life changed and I ended up being a mum. That was my first rite of passage. Well, like how wonderful one it is to have. But I always laugh. I kind of went from being in Ibiza one weekend, and then I had one child, and then I was pregnant with another one, and then I was gifted a family member's a niece, a biological niece. So all of a sudden, I adopted.
Wow.
So I went from being a 27-year-old woman who was working from 8 in the morning to 10 at night, like highly business driven, top of the game, operations manager, couldn't get a higher label, you know, up there with all the alpha males. And then, you know, a baby, no work, nowhere to hide, nowhere to fill the voids with work. Another baby, and then this other gorgeous little gift, 3 children.
Wow.
In 1 year.
In 1 year, wow. That definitely can be a shock to the system, and almost a shock. It's a shock to your identity as well, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and I assume certainly, you know, growing up in your 20s in Liverpool, you know, you're talking about Ibiza there, so I'm already perceiving, you know, and judging that, you know, there was levels of partying, you know what I mean, and enjoying yourself and getting out there, and you know, we're almost working hard and playing hard. Isn't
That's
it? You know
exactly what I was going to say. It was work hard, play hard,
play harder. You know, and you burn it, and you burn. You know, you sort of burn a candle at both ends as well, and that's definitely got a sell-by date to it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, with things in life, they naturally change. You know, it's they change for a reason. And certainly having children, and you know, almost the work begins then, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Because because we can distract ourselves, can't we? Going to work, and I'm not denying that we can be on purpose and we can be cracking on and we can have an aspiration, to really be in the world and to do something great, or whatever we feel greatness is to us. But yeah, there's a time when, especially as a mother or as a woman, you know, you have a biological clock, don't you know what I mean? And then it's like, right, you know, where and when and how does this sort of unfold for me? So you've gone from this almost masculine dominated experience, you know, from, I'm guessing, a number of years, you worked your way up, where it's probably a lot of ego, a lot of bravado, a lot of competition, you know, you know, and you know, and almost there's a thrill there, isn't there? There's a buzz about your work, about how you present yourself, because we can almost wear a mask in them places, can't we? You know, and it's certainly an opportunity for us to see what we're made of. And then obviously, bang, you've had your first child, and then another 2 have come along straight away. So what started to unfold then from there? Everything
changed for me over a certain periods of time. Like, definitely, it's like a dark night of the soul. I went, as you've just said, from a very, what I didn't know at that time was wounded masculinity and very masculine energy, and success how I deemed success. For me, I had the highest label, the highest status,
Yeah.
massive money. I was in competition with the men and I was running circles around them in what I'd done. I was like a fierce leader, you know, and I was dead proud of it.
Yeah. It's a badge of honour, isn't it?
Yeah, especially for a woman. Do you know, like, you know, I was always so driven. And my dad had, you know, brought us up that way, and I was like proud. But I ended up, I had a family member who I love very, very dearly, who suffered with mental health illness and alcoholism. And my life changed. My life changed. You know, I don't know if you've had anybody who you love dearly who has addiction, but you're grieving someone who's very much alive but barely existing.
Yeah.
Do you know? And I did everything in my power to fix, change, cure, mould, save.
Yeah.
And it was insanity.
Yeah.
And no matter what I did, no matter using all my resources, exhausting myself to the point of oblivion, sacrificing every single part of me to the point where they just still couldn't get sober.
Yeah.
You know, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And that's when the work started for me. That's
Yeah.
when I become aware of the work.
Of course.
Before then, I was just operating unconsciously, you know, like drinking, drugs, everything, just, you know, I was just living my life. Like, I didn't even know what self-awareness was. I didn't even know what that word meant, do you know? At the age of 27, I'm now 34, you know. And
because your 20s is all, I mean, it's not for everyone, but, you know, almost like living in Liverpool, you come out to school, don't you know, 16, 17, and then there's, you know, whether you go to college or you maybe start getting your first job, you know what I mean? And then you're almost getting a taste of like going into town, you know what I mean? You know, and getting into the bars, getting into the clubs.
Well,
you know
I worked in them.
Yeah, well,
so
there you go.
it was like, you know, you can imagine.
And it's, and then you're getting all that attention, aren't you? You know what I mean? You know, you're in town, and it's, you know, it's the music, it's the vibe, it's tribal, isn't
you're
it?
just
it's
living for that, for that, aren't
living
you?
for them Saturday nights, living for them Sunday nights, and obviously, you know, by the sounds of it, being successful in work, the money's flowing in, and you're almost living this high flying life, aren't you? And it can definitely like strengthen or validate the ego, like look at me, I'm flying, and you know, coming to this place where having almost, you know, someone in you know, your inner circle who's suffering with an addiction, alcohol. And I can only imagine how difficult that is, you know what I mean? Because you start to, you know, you're trying to live your own life. You're trying to, you know, run a team. Next minute you've got children coming along, and then you're trying to save somebody as well. And you probably were just incredibly exhausted in the end, you know what I mean?
I was, and I look back now and I think it was a pivotal time in my life. I remember, you know, you probably see anyone who goes on my page right now at the moment probably thinks they've joined the God Squad and they've joined the gospel. You know what I mean? It's like, praise Lord, I love God, you know. I'm surprised I've got any followers, to be fair, do you know what I mean? Because they must be thinking, how are we talking about sex, sacredness, and then God all in one sentence? But I remember this is the time then I thought, this is when I connected with God and it was all I've got. Like, I remember sitting on the bathroom floor. I'm going to get as upset now.
It's okay, let it come.
I remember sitting on the bathroom floor, and I remember I just fucking begged every single day for the person who I loved to get better, to heal. Like, please God, please, you know, let them be healed, please. I remember my friends used to call me John Coffey. I used to just hope that I could just suck the illnesses out of them and just, you know, because I'd be able to get through this. Like, I'm stronger and stuff. And
how many kids did you have at the time?
I was pregnant.
You were pregnant with your first child?
My first child, yeah. And I just remember this time where I'd exhausted all options. I just realised that it was beyond my control. And the only reason why I realised that is I hit the floor and I remember just lying on the bathroom floor screaming, crying, and I turned away from all my family, and I remember just saying, instead of saying, please God, can you get them better? I said, please, can you save me? Yeah. Like, I need saving. Like, I you know. And it was just at that point that I realised, oh my God, you know, I would never have done it, but I had thought of, I just want to kill myself here. Like,
Desperate.
I'm so desperate. I'm here, and how can somebody be in so much pain because of an action of another?
Yeah.
Do you know how fucking selfish? But these were the thoughts that
And
were
then
going round
projecting
to me.
towards
Yeah,
you.
I was projecting. You know, how selfish. You know, putting me through this.
Yeah.
Like, look how I'm feeling. You know, if you loved
Blaming.
us, if you loved, you know, and stuff like that. And that's how I felt at that time. And by the grace of God, I was brought to Al-Anon.
Lovely.
Which is a family and friends support group for people who you love who are suffering with addiction.
And people who go into AA.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, they
family.
might not even be in AA, but there's a
group.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people don't know about this.
Yeah.
Blows
It's as
me
big as
mind.
AA, isn't it?
Oh my God. Well, if you think about it, you've got one person in an AA who's suffering with addiction. They say you've got 20 family members who are all enabling and who are all sick.
Yeah.
Do you know? And I remember going, and this was it for me. I remember going, I'm sat in this circle, and they were like, right, we're going to talk about manipulation. We've got a topic for the week. So I was like, I've got my list of how they manipulate me for the bevy. And they were like, and we're going to talk about being the victim. And I was like, I've got a list. And then they were like, no, we're going to talk about you.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I never come here for me.
Yeah.
I come here for the red pill to make them better.
Yeah.
You know, give me the magic formula to make this person sober.
Yeah.
Do you know? And they were like, no, we're going to talk about you. And wow, did I fall off my self-importance stool?
Wow.
Did I realise that I was not as perfect as I thought I was.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? You know, when I started taking self-inventory of all the ways in which I manipulated a situation, it went deeper than just that experience with that loved one. It was like manipulating conversations so your friends side with you because you don't want to speak your truth.
That's right.
Do you know, it just went deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And it was just like something in me was just like, I love it.
Yeah.
This was it for me.
Yeah.
And I realised just in that moment that I was just as sick.
Yeah.
You know, and
to own that is so so powerful.
Yeah. And I realised that my loved one being, you know, I talked about then about being so angry, so angry. Why are you doing this to me? Can you imagine how they feel waking up every single day with an illness and fighting, going to war with their demons?
Of course.
And do they deserve the shame and the anger and the aggression?
Yeah.
You know, the judgment.
Yeah.
They don't know. Do you know? And it made me so empathetic and compassionate.
Yeah, it really activates that level of compassion for somebody else rather than blaming and shaming. Yeah. You know, all of a sudden you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, there's almost there's some space that's created.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you're in that place where you're like, wow, I'm now feeling this person and compassion towards where they're up to, but I've now got an opportunity to feel myself. Yeah. And potentially, shine the light back on myself and start doing it.
And that's when it really began.
Start doing some work. And I think, you know, talking about, you know, going through your 20s and not having any self-awareness. Yeah. You know, and I mean, awareness comes to us all in different ways. And this revelation, you know, you've been on the floor, you're asking for help, and then, you know, you go to Al-Anon and they're saying, no, this is about you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And inevitably, everybody, I feel, especially in our culture, in our Western world, there's everyone's got a shadow. Yeah. You know what I mean? And everyone's wounded. Yeah. Even if you've been brought up, you know, by good parents in a loving household, you know, through the work that I understand and that I've been leaning into, you know, or on these matters related, we don't really come out of childhood without wounds, do we? Do you know what I mean? And I think if we truly even knew what a projection was, like none of this stuff's taught, you know, in the mainstream school, and do you know what I mean? You know, and how we project our stuff onto others, you know what I mean? And really what we're doing is we're neatly placing the unwanted parts of ourselves, the stuff that we're afraid of, the stuff we're ashamed of, and we'll do everything we possibly can to protect that sense of that image or that persona that's built up over a long period of time. And so there you've had that revelation where it's like, wow, it was almost then a map for you to start, you know, weaving through and moving into and owning
My own stuff.
your own stuff. Part, you know, Lauren's, you know, fragmented,
Yeah.
unwanted, sticky,
Yeah.
you know, fearful personality.
Yeah.
And we'll, you know, we could call that the shadow, isn't
Yeah,
it? You know what I mean?
definitely.
We all have, you know, and the shadow is the parts of us that we can't see within ourselves. And then it certainly takes a level of self-awareness to shine the light on the shadow.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when the sun hits the body and you go, oh, there's my shadow. You know what I mean? So, and then you're able to certainly move through it then gracefully. And it takes a lot of time then, doesn't it, to start looking. Because, you know, as you said, you've already said, you know, it was like, wow, there was layers to it and layers to it and layers to it. And for you to own that, actually, I was sick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to a degree, we're all psychologically unwell.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, and it's... and it's due to, I mean, it's due to a lot of things, you know, we're constantly being manipulated on a daily basis, you know what I mean? And our awareness is being hijacked all the time, you know, for purposes of consumerism, really, and materialism. And for us to, because we're all longing, aren't we? You know, there's clearly a longing within you to know who you are. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Or to know something about, you know, we have this intuitive longing, you know, to that there's something else out there. So, you know what I mean? And we realise it's not out there, it's in here. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I feel like that's where my journey went from shining that on me. I was yearning and longing for connection. Yeah. But it was in all the wrong places.
Of course.
You know, a massive revelation for me, which I massively share and I'm happy to share, because I feel like this awareness helps women. It's massive with the work that I'm doing, especially around, and it's sex. Yeah. Do you know, I would say that I found connection, illusionary connection, in filling the voids at a younger age with drugs, sex, alcohol. Yeah. I remember even saying to my friend once, I feel like I'm addicted to sex. Yeah. You know, I had that label of the wild one. Now, it's funny because I'm the wild warrior woman now, but I've got a different feel for what wild means, a healthy wild. Yeah. Do you know, I was
Change your
chaos.
perspective on
At
it,
that point, I was chaos. I was impulsive. Yeah. I was reactive. Yeah. It was built on desire, lust. It was all the unhealthy qualities.
Of course. And then healthy qualities of wildness is naturalness, isn't it?
Freedom and flow. And you know, and really, you know, nurturing and things like that. But it wasn't. And that's what massively changed for me. I feel like if there was anything that my shame and my guilt all come around my body being abused. My body being the victim of my own abuse.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know? Yeah. And I remember saying
Which
that.
Which is a thought form, isn't it? It's a perspective. It's how you see in the world. It's your filter.
And I remember saying, you're not addicted to sex. You're addicted to attention. And I went,
wow, slap in the face there.
She was right.
Yeah.
Do you know, and this is where the shadow is for me. It's something that I've grabbed hold of, and I think, oh, I love it, because all of a sudden I understand myself.
Of course.
Because I used to just think that was me. Yeah. You know, I identified and I owned it.
This is just who I am.
Lauren, who walks in, he was dead good looking. I was like, I had 6-pack at the time. I had a high flying job. I could go into any room and get any man that I wanted, and it was always be a businessman, a purposeful man, a man with ambition. Yeah. And it was like a competition. Yeah. You know,
the game,
it was the energy, it was the unhealthy, you know, and it makes me laugh. Yeah. And when the women hear me, but they're like, oh yeah. You know, I walked in with such confidence, you know, competition, like, you know, every single time that I played out that role and I got temporary attention, I didn't want the attention. I wanted love. Yeah. I wanted intimacy. I wanted connection. Yeah. And I lived with that shame and that guilt within me, and I abused myself as a young woman. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I laughed it off, as you would, you know. And you know, men get that stigma. Yeah. But I was definitely playing that role out. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that was my greatest revelation. And I was able to look at myself, and you know what, Mart? You know, there's a bit of a sad story part of this. I don't actually think we've actually spoken about it in the past, but I was sexually abused at a very young age. Okay. And I feel like I had my power took away from me. So subconsciously, what did I try to do? Gain my power back.
Yeah.
And
that was the void.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was filling the void and I thought I was in control. And at that time, I thought, I'm in control. Nobody's taking my power away from me.
Yeah.
I'm going to claim it back.
Yeah.
How sad is that?
Yeah, but you were claiming it back through objectifying, the external world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was... And
with experiences rather than looking back inside and claiming it back.
Yeah, and I go home and nobody would know this, but deep dark in my shadow in my bedroom on my own, I felt shame.
Yeah.
Deep-rooted shame. Yeah. I've got all of this. I'm a nice looking woman. I've got a good personality, why am I doing this?
Why am I behaving the way I'm behaving?
Yeah, why? And laughing with all my mates because, unless you're having drugs or, you're having a lie, no one wants to talk about it, do they? All of this.
It's a taboo subject, isn't it?
Nobody wants to call you out for abusing yourself, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For being promiscuous,
Yeah.
And it's sad, but I called myself out, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was my biggest teacher.
Yeah, nice.
And, I remember I ended up doing ayahuasca. And wow, being in and I was, my ceremony I went and I was with 10 men. One girl and 10 men. And I was like, this is for a reason. Yeah. I'm here with all these men because I need to trust the masculine again because I've been abused by a masculine, and then I've went on and abused the masculine energy, coming from the wounds of masculine energy as well. And it was just mad that I was there. It's obviously coincidental, and it was all meant to be. And in that session, wow, did I dive deep, and it was just showing me how vulnerable I was to forgive myself, to forgive others, and I'd done a lot of healing. That I kind of feel like it dragged the shame, it dragged the guilt, all of this energy that had in me from transferring. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
Sacred energy.
So, okay, you've gone to Al-Anon, you know what I mean? And you've started to lean into that process. And you understood that it was now a process of self-healing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Self-initiation, self-reflection.
Yeah.
And that's where the work started then for you.
Yeah.
So how did you start to slowly integrate that then over a period of time? Did you keep going to meetings, and was you slowly just becoming more aware of the parts of your behaviour that had certainly been playing out in the shadows? You know what I mean? Because the shadow plays out unconsciously. We're not conscious of it. And so it's almost becomes a reactive. Experience, and a reaction is an unconscious repeated action. So stuff happens and then the shadow comes out, you know what I mean, as a reactive part of us, and it's the unwanted part of our behaviour, isn't it? That's that's playing out. So how did then it start to integrate over a period of time? Because you're pregnant as well here, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? So
I kind of I'd had the baby then, and then, as we said, I ended up with 3 babies
in a very short space of time.
And one of them, who is my beautiful daughter now, she's my eldest. She calls me mum. She's got a supposedly life-limiting illness called cystic fibrosis. It's like the story deepens, isn't it? It's like an afterlife. Do you know?
But there's no more going out now, is there? You got 3 kids.
No, and I feel like that was God again. Stopping me in my tracks. As again, having somebody around you in your circle who you love, who's got addiction, it reflected, well, I had my own addictions. I was filling the void with sex, and I was filling the void with drink. And it might not have been every day, but it was still my go-to to escape.
Of course.
Instead of just being present and dealing with things. So it's kind of like God just went, that's it, no more.
Done.
You've got people to look after, and you've got to look after yourself. So I was going to these meetings, and these meetings were life-changing, and because I had kids and stuff like that, and I was applying the steps. They give you steps, and at this point, by the way, I knew nothing about the link to spirituality, which is crazy. I didn't, even though you're doing these, they have a set of spiritual principles. I didn't know about the label shadow work. I didn't know about masculine and feminine energy.
Yeah.
So I was just heightening me and raising me consciousness, which was great, you know, naturally. And I remember them saying to me, you know, like, nobody's making you do anything, let go. And I remember thinking, let go, surrender.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather die, but isn't it crazy? That's how you actually
control freaks, don't we?
Yeah, that's how you actually feel. Like, I'd rather die than let go of this situation or, you know, let things. So what happened then is, I don't know how again, I fell into masculine and feminine energy. I was taught, I seen this framework of masculine and feminine energy, and I just remember looking at it, and it was like the holy grail to me. Like, it was like all of a sudden I understood with such deep compassion why I acted the way I acted, and things would never ever be the same again. You know, I'm looking at this healthy masculine and healthy feminine, and looking at the unhealthy qualities. And I looked at the unhealthy qualities, and I was like, shit. This is what I'm
behaving.
I'm operating in all of them. Controlling, blackmailing, manipulating, seeking attention, you know, seeking validation, seeking acceptance. Now, I think, like, you'll know this from the work that you do, because I've even learned things from you. It's all about the language. It wasn't until somebody I seen seeking validation, and I was like, okay, what does that mean? You're seeking validation. I started looking at everything in my life where I'm seeking validation, where I'm people pleasing. And it was like, I'm a people pleaser. Well, why am I people pleasing? And then looking at my childhood, and like, I'll give an example of me. So this is where I'm saying, where people go, you know, we've had a good upbringing. I always give this example. My dad was very strict. He was an amazing dad. He went and worked away. You know, he was a gentleman. He went and worked away. He worked hard for us, you know. He'd come home, and it was like we had to excuse ourselves off the table. All the kids were allowed to run wild in the street. He was like, Lauren, I was like, can I stay out later? He was like, no, you're in. Now, with all good intentions, my dad wanted to keep me safe. You know, he didn't do it because he was a bad dad.
Of course.
He'd done it to protect me. But let's look at the wounds of masculinity back, you know, in that generation. There was quite a lot of it. He was in his ego, you know. He thought leadership was power and control. It was do as I say, not as I do now. Do you know what I mean? If you don't do that, you're losing this, or you're going to get there. God's got a smack. Do you know what I mean? And I was just like, and you know, I actually had this little revelation the other day. My dad follows me on Instagram. And he went, every time I look at your post, I go, is there another one about me? He goes, you're lucky, you know what I mean? He goes, gets the violin out and all that. And I'm glad, you know, like, I laugh that he can actually look at the stuff that I write, because you've seen some of the stuff that I write. But he goes, no, Lol, I love it. I love that this awareness that you've got now. And, you know, he's so sorry that that's what he used to be like. But now I had a revelation the other day, which I didn't even come into it. I've always just said my dad's very strict, which he is. His mum's very strict, and he's a condition of that. But I also now understand that because of what happened to me when I was a little bit younger, which was out of his hands. That's why he was extra strict. That's why he didn't want me to go out the door.
He was protecting you.
He was trying to protect me, because I remember him saying, I'm completely powerless of what's happened to you. And I seen him break down. Now, my dad didn't cry. Crying was weakness. Being vulnerable, absolutely not. Do you know, I remember girls, like, when we were younger, wanting to, like, argue with me and fight, and he was like, get your earring plaits, get your earrings out and get out that door. Like, I'm a little feminine like girl, you know. I want you to hold me.
Toughen you up, wasn't
he? You know, and that's why you can understand why I was so masculine. He was physically present, but emotionally unavailable. And what happens is he absolutely didn't let me have my own healthy boundaries. So what happened is I had no sense of self. I done what he said. Like, because he was like, if you don't do this, and I was terrified.
And good behaviour's rewarded and bad behaviour's not.
Punished. Exactly. So this is where the people pleasing comes in when I'm older. So he took away my right to feel into something, to see if I felt safe. So what does it do?
To even make your own decisions and make your own mistakes. And,
So what does it do? At any opportunity I could, I went and pushed whatever I could. I went outside and I went wild.
Yeah.
I had my own sense of freedom.
Yeah.
Because I was so contained, suppressed, repressed. And, you know, when I say this, you know, my dad must like think, oh, but he understands he was doing that because he, with all good intentions, he thought he was keeping me safe.
Yeah.
But he also thought that's how it is to father.
Of course, yeah.
Do you know, a young girl going
Yeah.
out, but he had the opposite effect. I went worse.
Yeah. Yeah. We become a rebel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, any opportunity that I could to break the rules.
become rebellious, yeah.
And I also now look back at when I, and this is why I love what I teach, I also look back at when I've been in a situation with men and I've seen red flags in a sense of, you know, I don't want to get into this. And, you know, when you're younger, it's, you know, everybody's promiscuous and you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, what can I get, isn't it? Do you know, why, and this is what really where my work started coming in, why couldn't I say no?
Yeah.
Why was I like a nodding dog? Do you know
Always,
what I
yeah.
mean? Because, you know, because my dad on one hand had been saying, you better do this, you better step up, you
Yeah.
better speak, you better get out there. He wanted me to be confident, he wanted me to be
Yeah.
fierce. But because I was always like that to him and I never got a chance to speak my truth when
Yeah.
I was younger, I never got a chance to say to my dad, no. I won't. So when I got into another situation where there was other men and women,
Yeah.
do you know, in any situation from being work, from anywhere, I'd look at them and they'd say something and inside I'd feel triggered, but I'd just go,
Yeah.
whatever you say.
Yeah.
You know, because I was seeking validation, I was seeking
right.
acceptance, I was people pleasing.
Yeah.
And I was
It
scared
was a
of,
father wound, wasn't it?
yeah, I was scared of being rejected.
Yeah.
Do you know, and I was scared of being abandoned.
Yeah.
I was scared of being judged.
Yeah.
But what was happening with all my chaotic behaviour, I was being judged anyway.
Of course.
Do you know? And, you know, so when I got this framework...
That chaotic behaviour is literally the wound, isn't it? I mean, you know, you've been in that place, you know, you've been incredibly controlled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's almost a leash on you, isn't there? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You know, and then you're like, yeah. And it's fear.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you're not in almost that sort of surrounding, you know, you're like, right.
Yeah.
And so you overcompensate. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You'd end up going, you know, absolutely almost crazy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
totally rebelling. And that's how that initiating of that behaviour come from your father and then almost plays out throughout your life
Yeah.
for many, many, many years as the shadow, but
Yeah.
we don't know it.
No,
we don't know
exactly.
it's playing out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And because I mean, a lot of the time we don't really see our own movie, do we, Lauren?
No,
Do you know what I
no,
mean?
no.
You know, and other people tend to see
Yeah.
aspects of ourselves that we're not seeing. But unfortunately, they'll talk to other people about it.
Yeah, instead of you.
And it's gossip, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And instead of actually saying, listen, I'm seeing something in you here.
Yeah.
So it takes someone, a friend,
Yeah.
to say, listen, you might not like this, what I'm about to say,
Yeah.
but I'm seeing something that
Yeah.
you might not be seeing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
You know, or are you ready for it?
Yeah.
But then, you know, certainly having this sense of awareness, which is being almost awakened within you, you
Yeah.
know, with these groups.
Yeah.
And with these support groups that you've been going to, it's like a spotlight then, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
You're untangling.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting under the skin.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And you're piecing, you know, why do you behave the way you
Yeah.
behave? What's the motivations here? And all of a sudden you're like, right, well, it's because of this, and
Yeah.
this. And then from your understanding, how do you start to, I mean, certainly just becoming aware of it and objectifying it alone is massive.
Yeah.
Because you'd understand that, well, that's why I'm doing that because of this.
Yeah.
And that gives you an opportunity. I mean, awareness itself, present moment awareness, you stop reacting then, don't you?
Yeah,
You stop
yeah.
reacting unconsciously.
Yeah.
Because we check out and we're reacting unconsciously, we're habituating, doing the same things. And it's the ego, as you said, wanting to be seen, wanting to be validated, wanting to be acknowledged. And we'll do everything in its power, you know, manipulation,
Yeah.
you know, lying,
Yeah.
whatever it is, just to get what it thinks it needs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And then you come to this place where you're like, wow, I'm present. I'm not running these programs anymore. And then you can start to not just look at the shadow, but respond.
Yeah.
And then you're responding differently.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And when you do that, it's like you're almost becoming a new version of yourself.
Yeah.
Whilst integrating
Yeah.
the parts of you which has been playing out as the shadow, there's an opportunity to step into your potential then.
Yeah.
You know, so how's that like unfolded then over a period of time?
Well, when I come to terms with the fact that I'd been identifying with my trauma.
Yeah.
And I was literally the victim. And by the way, rightly so.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is, you know, we can be the victim for a moment, for a month, for whatever, but we can't drown in it.
But most people do, don't they? Most people play the victim their whole life and they don't know they're doing it. And just for anyone who's listening, playing the victim, that is potentially, I would, you know, try to help you understand that it's when you're almost... It's somebody else's fault, isn't it? It's life happening to you, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like life's happening to me. It's always me. Why is it always me? It's your fault that I feel like this. So you're blaming something externally for the way you feel.
Yeah, you're saying I've got no sovereignty, I've got no, you know, I've got no power. You give you're powerless, you're saying, aren't you, over your reality? Yeah. And I become that. Do you know what I mean? So when all of this happened and they started playing out, I dived into the work, but all of a sudden, I realised the hidden forces that had driven me. I was playing out. Everything was a lie. It was like my intentions have always been with the wrong intentions with every decision I've made, from relationships to having children. You know, and all my intentions were wrong because I was unconscious and I was playing out in all of these. So when I started operating and started changing things to the healthier energies and accepting and surrendering, my life just changed and space was created. And unfortunately, I left a relationship in which the dad of my babies, who was an incredible man, but it come to the end of our journey together. And it was hard because, you know, from anything, when you've got kids, you have that sense of you don't want to break the family unit up. It's heartbreaking. Yeah, it's
the nuclear family, isn't it? And sometimes it's a romantic idea, do you know what I mean? Where you go, this is us now, we're going all the way. And there's almost a lack of almost a tribe, you know what I mean? And two people can have a sense of their own belief systems, their own wounds. You know what I mean? And then there's a power struggle. And then you're trying to bring these kids up, and then there's a lack of sleep, and all of a sudden, I think it's something. I think it's like 80% of relationships break down in the first year of having a child.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, and I felt that I had 3 babies. Don't forget, one was sick. Do you know what I mean? And we'd moved away, and I was on my own without no family or friends.
No one around, no support.
One, you know, I made friends there, but it wasn't the same. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I was really put into that place to isolate, but I was put into that place to isolate to put pressure on me to do the work.
Yeah, of course.
I was took away from Liverpool.
No distractions.
I had no distractions. I couldn't go around to my mates for a wine to have a nag. I had to do the work. I had
take a look.
And we decided, you know, I feel like, you know, at that point I was like, I've come into this relationship and I'm not the same person right now, because I'd had this awakening of my whole childhood, the lot in that I was playing out. I just like, it was like I was
the alter ego, isn't it? The persona.
I was just like, I'm not even the person that you've met. I don't even, for the first time ever, I'm understanding who I am. Do you know, I was grieving the old Lauren. And it was hard for us to manage as a family.
It's difficult to let that part of you go, isn't it? You know what I mean? You know, because we're so identified with that.
Well, he'd fell in love with that person.
Of course.
Do you know? But he'd also fell in love with a lie. Because I hadn't been honest about my past. And I know people get into relationships like that, but you know, not that it was bad. I was loving and kind and like the best partner ever, but it was just my reality. There was a lot of work that I had to do and I had to process, and I felt it was best that I needed to be on my own. Nice. So we separated, and I've got to say, the moment that I separated and we come back to Liverpool, I remember thinking, I'm never ever coming back to Liverpool. I never want to step foot in that city again. And I tell you why. Because I was running away from myself. All the things all the times I've been up till, you know, 4 or 5 in the morning, and like, you know, most Scousers, do you know, in the party, just you know.
Doing what you do.
I was deeply, exactly, we won't go there. But like, I was deeply ashamed. Like, And, you know, by the way, when I say ashamed, it's not like I've done anything that probably 99% of the people in the city have done.
A lot of people have played in them energetics,
But when you literally come out of it and you're looking, you're like, oh, I felt like so sad. It was like I was looking at a little Lauren.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, what you've done to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, but I feel like that also went with the fact that I knew there was something greater for me, always pulling me. Do you know, there was something pulling me out of there. So as soon as I come back to Liverpool, I was like, that was a big thing for me. It was like, I felt this like energy come up and I was like, all right, I know what's coming here. You're stepping in back into the arena where you've walked into the pubs and you've been this wild, you know, Lauren, who everyone loved. But
the carrots are getting zangled again, aren't they? You know what I mean? It's on offer as well. But and it's having that sense of, okay, you know what?
And I come in and I come in and I've got to say, I come in with grace. Come in as I went as a little girl and I come in as a woman.
Lovely.
Do you know? Yeah. And I am really proud of that. Do you know? I am.
Thank you for owning
I know, I am. And not always the same. I mean, the way I communicated with my family, I started, once you get into this work and you really get into this work, it was like my family wanted to just like, they were like, whoa. I was like, Mum, we need to have a conversation. Yeah. She was like, oh shit, do you know? Everyone was getting it.
Because your whole... fucking, let's open these can of worms. There's fucking worms everywhere. Oh, Pandora's box. Fucking hell. I mean, I think like, because you have this awakening and it becomes so potent and illuminating that you can't deny it.
No.
And also it becomes almost at the top of the priority list.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which is you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And having this understanding of, wow, I've been living a lie.
Yeah.
And now I'm ready to atone. I'm ready to tell the truth.
Yeah.
I'm ready to not just call myself out. I'm ready to have some sticky conversations
with everyone.
You know what I mean? Let's get real here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's have you know, let's say, you know, the old-fashioned truth. Let's get it on the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because a lot of they're the conversations we all shy away from. Aren't they? We run away from them. And I think we run away from them for two reasons. One, because we don't have them that often. So we're not very schooled in how to communicate in these ways.
Yeah, massive.
I think that's a big one.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lack of how to have non-violent communication. Do you know what I mean? Without things getting sticky. And two is it's difficult to own them disowned, fragmented, sticky, you know, parts of ourselves, you know, the darkness, you know what I mean? You know, we talk about, you know, the shadow here, but it is that's it's like the alter ego, isn't it? You know what I mean? You've got the Jekyll and Hyde, you know, you've got Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and you're coming back and you think, right, okay, I want to have some conversations here now, you know what I mean? Let's get our cards all on the table. Let's see where we're up to. So how was that received?
You know what? I feel my family, I have to give them the greatest respect. I think deep down they seen that I was chaotic, that I was impulsive, that I was, you know, I was crying out, by the way, crying out for help. I was a little girl who'd been abused, like, and I was then playing out the most horrific behaviour, you know, and I think they were glad of the conversations and they was very sticky, but I ran with them. And do you know what I loved? When I got this framework again and it was like, don't blame. Can you have a conversation without blaming, shaming, judging somebody else? That to me was like gold. So I found myself... And
you've got that in the support groups, haven't you? That's where you've been educated on that information.
And the masculine and the feminine energy. So, because that's a wounded energy. You know, normally you'd say something and you'd say, this is how I feel. And they'd go, well, this, and you go, well, you. Do you know, immediately, because you want to be seen and you want to be heard. So my conversation started the art of emotional intelligence. I feel like I've really got it now, you know, and that's what I feel is... It sets me alight, it ignites me. So like, I remember sitting with my mum and, you know, I'd have this conversation and I'd just take accountability for everything, even though the situation was like, when my mum and dad split up, I remember thinking my mum was so selfish. You know, I thought that she was the worst in the world. And I really, you know, she was working and she went out and I really had to go at my mum. it was all perception. It was all my poor tainted perception.
Of course.
I remember, and this makes me incredibly sad, and it's why I love my mum so much, because there's no light without darkness. I remember my mum getting fibromyalgia, is it?
Fibromyalgia,
and also immune conditions. And I remember thinking, I remember just being dead angry. Like, I never had any empathy for her. I remember thinking, like, you're not being the mum that I want you to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're not showing up. Like, the poor woman's lost the mobility.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about me.
Yeah.
Do you know, I'm thinking, is she attention seeking? I'm placing all these expectations on
her.
my mum. Yeah. And it really did drive us apart for a long, long time. And, you know, the day that I just realised, and I just was able to go round to my mum and say, God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I am so sorry. How dare I place these expectations on you? I should meet you with nothing but compassion, love, empathy, and you as a person should have free will to do as you please.
You know, this is the problem, I think, is that most people go into relationships and then there's a lack of communication.
Yeah.
And through a lack of communication, there's all assumptions and expectations.
Yeah.
And we're projecting what we feel like we want and need, or you know, these wounded parts of us onto these people, that you're going to save me, but it's your job to make me happy. It's your job to, you know, to bring me joy. Yeah. And we're waiting for the world, you know, to bring us all this satisfaction, which we do get. Yeah. But then the expectations are too high. Yeah. And so then a lot of people, you know, because of the attachment to others, end up in a place where they're disappointed. Yeah, yeah, I mean, they're disappointed. Yeah. That's where the resentment comes from. That's where, you know, anger comes from. And for you to really come to a place of going, you know what, all I've done is project an expectation onto you, and we haven't even had a conversation about it. You know what I mean? And so you know, you're having all these conversations, you're atoning, you're going through a process, it's being received. Yeah,
they had like a hit list, and they just started.
Need to see him.
Do you know
need
what?
to speak to
her.
I
need to go through all of them. Do you like here's Lauren, and it was like every single person got an apology. Yeah. Now I want to be dead honest here. I'd also been on a lot of, they'd done a lot of, I've been in a situations where a lot of, you know, stuff had been said to me. It wasn't like I was this like just bad person and all that, but the point was the fact that I was taking accountability for everything. Yeah. I was like, you know, we'd have a conversation, I was playing the victim here, and I was feeling like I'm manipulated. I remember just everything changed for me, even in the simplest things that my friends would, you know, when your mates ask you to go out, and as a kid and as a teenager and as a young woman, I'd make up all kinds of, I go, I'll be there. Yeah. And then I think I don't want to go. Yeah. And so I make up a lie. Yeah. And
I've got this and this.
You know, proper like lie. And then, you know, I watch me behaviour. I'd then ring one of them individually and really, really suck up to them. And I'd be like, what is this? Why am I doing that? Why am I struggling to say,
speak the truth?
I'm not coming. Yeah. And not give an excuse.
I think we're afraid to be judged, aren't we?
Yeah. But this is when even the deeper work come in. I'm fearing to being judged. I'm fearing them leaving me and rejecting me. Yeah. You know, rejection wounds, abandonment wounds. Yeah. Where did they come from? Do you know? And everything just was like intricately weaving together, and I was loving it.
You can see it, can't you?
Yeah.
You can see it. As clear as day.
It's like a blueprint, isn't it? And I was just like, it gave me motivation then to just do this work and to dive in. And I felt like with the masculine and feminine energy, I had ways. It wasn't just leaving me there. It was like, right, you're trying to control something, so that means that you're not creating something, because you're trying to control when you should be. What can you not control? Let go of the control and create liberation, create outcomes, create opportunities. So it gave me...
Because you're pointing the finger back at yourself all the time, aren't you? Yeah. You know what I mean? The world is inevitably a metaphor, isn't it? Yeah. And all of our triggers on a daily basis are very much... if we're being triggered by something or someone or an experience, it's showing us parts of ourselves that we're not taking ownership of, you know what I mean? You know, and then we're blaming and shaming instead of pointing the finger back and going, hang on a minute. Yeah. There's something I'm potentially afraid of or I'm ashamed of. Yeah. And shame, you know, comes out as blame. Yeah. And if we can go, okay, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
There's something inside of me that I'm being triggered by.
Yeah.
And it's probably because of an attachment or an expectation.
Yeah.
Because we place our expectations onto the world. It's like, whatever it is, you go out there and, you open the door open for someone and you expect a thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then you get yourself all upset when they
you're
don't.
in the gym and you've opened the door open and they didn't say thank you and you're like, I'm never going to open the door open to you. You're dead to me. I am never going to let on to you. You know what I mean? And you don't even know the person, and it's like, and so there's this, but certainly, the trigger is so potent within ourselves that actually it's something for us to look, because really, if we don't look at it, it plays out so many times in the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're almost looking for it, aren't you?
Yeah.
But if you do integrate it, the charge is less, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you go, hang on a minute, can I own there's a part of me that actually that is ignorance or it doesn't have any manners? Because there is and when we can go, actually, there are parts of me that plays out like that. You go, okay, great, I'm owning it. And then you can go, all right, by owning it, I mean, that alone is massive.
Yeah, it's awareness, isn't it? Yeah,
and you go, that's a part of me and my behaviour that's been stuck somewhere in the basement. And because we actually then overcompensate that shadow by being almost overly generous. Thank you. Do you know what I mean? So the shadow, the other aspect, the polar opposite to it, where you become like you're that person where it's thank you, and it can be almost passive aggressive. Yeah, can it? But the charge is less. So, and when the charge is less, it's like, well, I'm not expecting a thank you. I'm opening the door because I can.
With all good intentions. So it's your intentions then, isn't it?
With courtesy, I can open the door. If I get a thank you, great. If I don't get a thank you, great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But and it's really bringing it all back to you then, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I always give a good example. My mate, we got brought up with Katie, she won't mind me saying this, but we'd just go head to head when we were younger all the time, and I thought she was so selfish because she was so direct.
Yeah.
She was so direct, and what was it reflecting in me? I was a people pleaser.
That's right.
When I done the work, I wish I had the courage to just say no.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because my intentions weren't pure when I was doing things for people. It was so I could get the thank you.
Yeah.
It was so I could be seen.
That's right.
So, when I actually done that work, as you just said, it was just like, wow.
Because you're opening the door to be thanked and to be seen.
Yeah.
I've opened the door for you, where's me thank you?
Yeah. So what are your intentions? Well, if your intentions aren't to just give unconditionally, your intentions aren't pure.
Yeah.
So that actually, when I had these realizations, it motivated me more to stand in my truth, speak me power, lead with love, love unconditionally. I feel like that's a quality that I hold really well because of the series of events where I've got people who are suffering massively.
And you start to be yourself more, don't you know what I mean? There's this, and that feels authentic.
Yeah.
It's more like, I'm just being myself.
Yeah.
And I'm doing what I do because I can and because this is who I am, not because I'm looking to be acknowledged by the world. Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful if you're acknowledged. You know what I mean? If you're seen. The ego does want to be seen, felt and heard. Do you know what I mean? And I think we also need to honour them parts of ourselves where it's like, okay, I'm feeling this.
Yeah.
What do I need? Do you know what I mean? And you can honour your own needs, can't you? You know what I mean? You might be going, well, I'm feeling anxious. What do I need? Well, I need a bath. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm feeling lonely, and what do I need? I need some company. Do you know what I mean? So it's getting into them spaces where you actually start to honour your own needs, your own egoic needs, because we've all got them, haven't we? And it's also, owning the shadow and potentially honouring what the shadow needs as well.
Yeah, and I feel like that ran in perfectly for me, because when I then come back to Liverpool, what did I need? I needed support. Yeah, and I needed support. But I also it was hard to integrate back. I'll be dead honest, it was hard to integrate back with my friends before that I'd left with Liverpool, because I'd changed. Yeah, I'd changed, and they've been my great friends since but we'd all changed, and I'd outgrown, and my the way I thought was just completely different. So what ended up happening is I isolated myself, but I needed that isolation, and I liked my own company for the first time. I used to not like my own company, so that's why I'd fill the voids with everything. But that period had just allowed me to be with my kids, be on my own. So what I did then is I thought, I enjoyed walking. So I just was out in the mountains. That's where I seeked serenity. No longer did I want to be around the table, gossiping, judging, drinking, doing drugs. Do you know, like you said about that time where you sat on your own, you know, when I really started doing the work, I was so aware, like you say, of how much I was so, what is it called? Like waiting for somebody to like me post.
Yeah.
And I realised that I was still subtly attention seeking and I was seeking validation and acceptance, you know, and it's just mad how it happened. I completely just transformed. I started walking and I was like, this stuff has changed my life. And this stuff shouldn't just be to a certain group of people.
Yeah.
This should be for everyone because everyone needs to recover.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Everybody.
Everyone.
Yeah, the world.
Yeah, the world. Why is this only...
Everyone's not well.
Yeah. Why is this only given to people who are suffering with addiction? We all fill the void.
Because you're talking about, you know, not sitting around the tables, drinking booze and alcohol, gossiping, and it's almost like there's a darkness there, isn't it? You know what I mean? And everyone's projecting their stuff, their points of view. He did this, she did that. He's and everyone is just projecting and talking about everybody else's business. And really, you know, because we're really talking about our own stuff, but we're not owning it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We project our points of view onto others, and then we're just going, hang on it, because we don't really know other people's experience, do we?
No.
You know what I mean? And so gossip becomes Chinese whispers. You know what I mean? And then you almost get branded or labelled as something.
Well, I like to say, like, if you are judging somebody, you are dehumanising them and you're not looking into your shadow and owning the darkest part of you. Because we might not have carried out the same behaviour, but we've all done something.
Yes.
We've all done something.
We've all told lies. We've all manipulated. We've all deceived.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why I am so good at what I do, because I was a master manipulator.
Yeah.
I was the victim. I was all those unhealthy ones. For me to be able to just flip it, my conversation began to change. No longer was I sit in a cover with women and be like, yeah, he's this, he's that. I'd be like, okay, well, where did you not see the red flags? And you know, where was no vulnerable conversations allowed? And do you know, stuff, my language changed because my awareness changed.
Absolutely.
So obviously the space was created then. And I just created my own circle.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah, started attracting different people towards you.
Yeah, so this is like going, like, I'm a writer.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't, you know, back in the day, I would never say that. I'd need a label. I'd need somebody to go, you've got a book, so you're a writer. Like, I probably have a good level of, most of my clients come to me because of my writing, because of how I share the shadow and the dark parts of me, and they obviously resonate with it, and it triggers something within them. And I laugh because you don't see a lot of comments under my work, but my inbox is always on fire because you know,
it's not a hot topic, is
nobody wants to call themselves out, not on social media,
not in public.
No, you know what I mean, and I get it. Do you know what I mean? I'm doing this because this is me being of service.
Takes deep courage, done it? To go, okay, hang on a minute, I'm holding my hands up here. I've fucked up. I've told a lie. But as you said, we're all human. You know what I mean? And somewhere along the line, the shadow has played out. And almost has needed to play out. You know what I mean? And it's like, we can get into that place where you go, okay, I told a lie. And I have been manipulating. But
what is the hidden force that drove you to it?
Of course.
And that's what I teach. What is the hidden force? Because we don't just do this because we want to do it.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean? There's hidden forces that drive it. And most of the time, these reasons are to be met with nothing but empathy and compassion and love and vulnerability. Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't need to be, can you hold that
shamed
space without
blamed,
blames and shames and manipulators and judged and everything, like, you know. And I think that's why I do what I do so well, because I've been in such dark places and my shadow has just been so, you know, overwhelming, that being able to now step into the light, you know, there's no woman that can sit in front of me and say, well, I've done this, and I'll judge it. I'm like, I can hold that space.
You can.
Do you know what I mean?
Because you've exposed yourself.
And by doing that, by me, and this is the driving force behind why I do what I do now, by me being so honest about my behaviour, not in fear of being judged anymore, because that's their issue. People want to talk, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm a different person now, you know, and one that I'm very, very proud of. I give permission for all these women to dive into themselves and bring their shadows to light.
Yeah.
Do you know?
You know, it's a safe space. You create that container.
It's true healing.
Yeah, it's authentic and it's real.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know, I personally feel like, certainly within maybe some spiritual circles, this is where the real work is. Do you know what I mean? You know, it's going into the shadow.
Yeah.
It's claiming them unwanted parts of us. Do you know what I mean? And it's owning them, but shining a compassionate light upon them. Do you know what I mean?
And I think some people forget to do that unless they have experienced this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've real life. I didn't do this just by reading a book. I had to experience it. Do you know what I mean?
You've got experiential knowledge, which you're now bringing into your work. And I think, we just even vocalising shame releases it, doesn't it? You know what I mean? And obviously there's stuff that, you can go through cathartic experiences and for you to release, them energetics in the body.
Yeah.
But I think when you almost give someone an open forum to say, listen, it's all welcome here.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the things we do. Remember out masks, like on the very first day, like literally within the first 10 minutes, we each man gets we smudge each man down. And we ask if we can place a hand on the heart, you know what I mean? And we say to them, all is welcome here.
Yeah.
All that stuff that has been hidden in your basement, the stuff that you don't want to show the world, the unwanted parts, that's welcome.
Yeah.
But we say all the gold, all the stuff that you show the world, all the stuff that you perceive to be good, that's all welcome as well. Because it's all a matter of perception, isn't it? We perceive that stuff to be bad, and we perceive this stuff to be good, when really it's not good or bad.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when we inevitably start to, because this is why we put masks on, isn't it? You know what I mean? And we start to integrate these parts of us by owning them, talking about them and releasing them. You feel more wholesome, don't you?
Yeah.
Because you're not overcompensating anymore. You're not necessarily manipulating life or looking for the validation. You're just more like, you know what? I just feel me. I'm okay here. I'm okay here. Do you know what I mean? And you talk about judgment. People are going to judge, and inevitably, people are only judging something about themselves, really.
Course,
you know what I mean? As I said before, we're a mirror. And when people, obviously we can judge somebody's behaviour, you know what I mean? But it's important to go, all right, you may be observing something within somebody else.
That's how you react and respond to it, isn't it?
Because you can think, okay, hang on a minute, this is also something for me to potentially look at and own within myself. If there's a charge, then certainly it's for you to own. There might not be a charge, but you might still be observing someone's behaviour and to shine a light on it, because they might not see the movie. Do you know what I mean? So if from my understanding, if there's not much of a charge, sometimes there might be a charge and it falls away, then you've probably integrated them parts and owned of it. But if it's a charge that keeps coming back and it plays out in many different areas of your life, then it's, hang on a minute, I'm judging something here. It's the same thing, but I'm charged by it. So it's certainly obviously mine to look at. I've obviously got something going on inside of me.
Definitely. I had like a moment of that maybe last year, and it was just like competition with somebody else in the city, and I was triggered all the time doing the similar thing for me, and I felt like it was mine. Like, how dare they do the same? You know what I mean? And I looked at it, it's real, isn't it? And I couldn't point the finger because I'm a very aware woman now. So it was like, right, I need to sit with this because this is coming up for me. I'll go and get them one night now. It was like
people's death.
It was the it was the father wounds. It was the competition. It was the and it didn't need I sat within that. Now I've got good people in my circle who I've taught, who I can check in with and say, this is coming up for me. And I need to speak about it because it's consuming me. And, let it come up. And I'm like, right, what's this? But what it is I'm not doing, what it actually was, what it was actually highlighting in me is we've got the man going and doing it and smashing it, and rightly so, absolutely incredible. You've got a woman, and I was loathing and self-pity. I wanted to be in my masculine energy, firing these sessions out. But I had 3 kids, a single mum, no support. And I don't say that to be the victim, that's just the reality of the situation. And it was triggering in me. I wanted to compete. I wanted to get out there. I wanted to, for me to surrender into that that was really hard for me.
Yeah.
Do you know? And I owned it, and I had to be compassionate, because when it all come up and I was left crying, what it was is I had to truly balance my energy then. I had to like surrender to the fact that like I can't do it all.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got my children there, and it was coming up that I just didn't feel supported. And you know, I wasn't being supported.
Yeah. But then that gives you an opportunity to look at your own life and go, okay, am I creating order?
Yeah.
Am I in flow?
Where can I
asking
find
the right questions? Tweaking.
Yeah.
Tightening the screws.
Yeah.
Making sure you're making
being a masculine, the structure, laying the foundations,
and knowing the intentions behind the decisions you're making, and then things become almost organic, don't they?
Yeah.
Your growth is organic. You're not striving anymore. You're not pushing. You're certainly not pushing into pain.
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, this is who I am. I'm looking at my situation. I'm able to create order. I'm able to discern the mind. I'm able to to make, necessary decisions now for me to thrive.
Well, I was trying to force things, so at the end of the day, I was out of alignment.
Yeah.
And, as soon as I stepped out of that and I surrendered and went, surrendered it up, me walks went whoosh,
through the roof.
And it was just like, well, that's where you're meant to be.
Yeah.
And I was able to feel that with a bit of resistance very quickly. But, that would have in the past really consumed me.
Yeah.
This was over a 2-day period. Oh, this is something that I need to be working on now.
Yeah.
It's coming up and up and
You're
up.
taking women into nature, aren't you? You know what I mean? You've got these walks, and nature's obviously
healing.
It's healing. It's a mirror of truth. You know what I mean? And it's where we innately connect back to that energy, don't we? We're almost our own nature, especially living in the city. You know what I mean? We obviously we've got some beautiful parks here, but when do we ever truly get out the city, get out the vibration? Do you know what I mean? And so let's lean into that a little bit. You're taking women out into nature, and Wild Warrior Women is now becoming it's now a brand, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you are you're bringing people together. You're offering a safe container for women to share, and then being able to educate them on parts of themselves which they may be afraid of or ashamed of, and to own and to integrate. I suppose you create a container first for them to start to open up, because it's not easy, is it, to be vulnerable?
No.
You know what I mean? Because even sometimes we can be vulnerable, but even our vulnerabilities can be weaponized in certain relationships, can't they? Do you know what I mean? So sometimes it's not our partner, or if you realise, actually, this isn't the right person for me, or this isn't the right partner for me, because they're weaponising my vulnerabilities. So I think certainly in certain like certain circles, you start to create a container, don't you? And there's some formalities, you know what I mean, and what gets said here stays here, and whether it's one-to-one or whether it's in a group dynamic, and then next minute they're releasing shame, aren't they?
Well, this is something I say, like every single time we start, I have this thing where I say, we're in a sacred circle, no one in front, no one in behind, no one above, no one below, side by side, we're all teachers and we're all students, and make sure that I don't put myself above them at all.
There's an equality there.
And I feel like because they know, I feel like when you're coming and stepping into a circle that I've created and you read my stuff, you know what you're getting yourself into. I feel like you've already committed to doing some level of work, which I'm very proud of them of. They're the most amazing women, and one thing I'm proud of, I've been doing this for 2 years now, there's never ever been an issue or any, and it's like they come in, and most of them, as me, have stepped out of their own circles that they've been brought up in and stuff. They've stepped in, the connections, the friendships, the love, because it's a different way of being. Everyone accepts people just as they are. They know not to judge.
In the darkness and their light.
They know not to judge. So they're sharing all this stuff, and then everybody's just, all of a sudden, everybody's like, what it's like. It's like, wow, like, I'm not on my own feeling the shame or this guilt.
They may have said something that they've been so ashamed of, that it's played out in their life unconsciously, and they brought it to the light, and then they share it, and they just release fucking years of baggage in their moments, and then they feel lighter then, don't they? You know what I mean? They feel lighter, and you just think, oh my God, I've been able to vocalise that.
And this is with strangers as well, so they become good friends. Do you know what I mean?
Building new bonds. Sometimes, it's easy to actually share with strangers, because there isn't necessarily an emotional attachment, you know what I mean?
Or a perception and your old identity. It's hard, isn't it? Do you know?
Because people brand us from our past, don't they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, she's this, he's that, you know what I mean? And, you know, it's like, you see, like, you know, you might see people, you know, 20 years down the line and you think, he's a bully him.
Yeah.
You know, what do you mean he's a bully? He was a bully in school.
Yeah,
you think,
yeah,
fucking hell. Do you know him now? Do you know his life? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
how can you judge someone from something that happened 20 years ago? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're only actually judging a part of his behaviour, which was actually from the past.
Yeah.
You know, but once people get a label, that's almost it then, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know, that's your brand, that's your label, and, you know, it becomes a sticker, doesn't it? You know what I mean? And inevitably, there's parts of us, I mean, it's the full spectrum of behaviour, isn't it? You know what I mean? There's hundreds of Laurens out there.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of Martins out there, because there will be a different perspective from everybody out there. You know, someone say, oh, I like her because of this.
Yeah.
And I don't like her because of that.
Yeah.
So they're just judging your
Yeah.
different parts of your behaviour, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? But I think what's so liberating is that you've come to a position where you're like, well, actually, I'm standing in my naked truth now. I'm actually not afraid to be judged, you know what I mean? And it's and for you to do that and lead from the front, you know what I mean? You know, it's refreshing for women to go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants that.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be exposed.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to stand in some sort of nakedness.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We want to let go. We want to be open. We want to be connected. We want to be liberated. But we've got this. We become stoic and linear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And because we're afraid.
Yeah.
We're afraid to be ourselves.
I feel like that's what I'm coming into. Well, it's on my mind now. You know. I've been single now for nearly 3 years, and you know, I feel like, and I haven't dated anybody or anything. I feel like it's starting to play on my mind consciously and I'm glad, because you know, in that time where I haven't been giving me energy to anybody else, look what I've created with that powerful energy within me. Look what I've created. But I want connection. I want to be with somebody. Yeah. I want to support. But everything's changed now, because I'm so aware of my own bullshit. Yeah. Do you know, like, I know a massive thing for me was bringing in a person like my dad, the wounds of masculine at the time. You know, it was like the men who were the alpha, the presence, emotionally, whatever. My men would be mirroring my dad. Yeah. Now my dad is healed. Oh, and it's absolutely gorgeous that I've got two healthy masculine men around me, my stepdad and my dad, who are kings. Yeah. Who both follow me, both dead proud of me, you know, and if they can look at me and follow me, how amazing is that? They honour me. Yeah. They honour me and all my vulnerability. I'm starting to like think now, the next man that I bring into my energy, he's got to have really done a lot of work. Yeah. Because he's got to accept my shadow.
Yeah, of course.
And for that, he's got to have owned his own. Yeah. Do you know? Because, you know, when we're kids, you'd be judged for what I'm saying here, course, you know, or immature.
And we naturally, obviously, what happens is we accept certain parts of people, but we reject others. It's like when we go on, you know, people go on a first date, you know what I mean? And everyone overcompensates, really. They'll tell, you know, most people will tell on the first date how good they are, you know what I mean? Oh, well, I'm good at this and I'm good at that, you know what I mean? But they almost even, like, it becomes, we tell fibs on, like, you know, not that I'm dating, you know what I mean, 'cause I'm not. But, like, you know, people, they like, oh, they're really a white belt in jiu-jitsu, but I'm a blue belt, you know what I mean? Or like, I earned 30 grand here, but I earned 55 grand here. And because we want to be loved, don't we? Yeah. We're fucking longing to be long. But on them first, you know, when, you know, there's this honeymoon period, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're spending a bit more time with each other, and then you might start seeing other parts of the behaviour, and you're thinking, oh, you didn't show me that on the first date. You know what I mean? Oh, fucking hell. And it's then that sacred ground. That's sacred ground, isn't it? Because people run away from that and judge you, rather than going, okay, hang on a minute, I'm seeing something here. Firstly, can I own it? Yeah. And secondly, can we talk about it? Yeah. Can we talk about the way you're behaving? And
can you meet that relationship and person without trying to fix, save and change them? Yeah. Every man who I've ever been with has been a project, not a partner. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, I'm stepping up now where I'm like, I have no absolute intention to fix, save, mould anyone.
Love becomes conditional, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's
conditional. It's like, right, I've got conditions and these are them.
They need to be met, and if they don't, we're going to complain about them.
Yeah.
Or we're going to stay with you and moan about them for the next 10 years.
Exactly. And so a lot of relationships are warped, aren't they? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You know, they're almost surface level. Yeah. Where because everyone's talking about the partner to the fucking mates. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Instead of, oh, he's done this and she's done that. Instead of saying, okay, hang on a minute. but we're not schooled in relating, are we?
No,
You know
we're
what I
not
mean?
in any of this, do you know?
You know, and I know it's certainly work that I love to talk about. It's work that lights me up. Do you know what I mean? And I'm still learning. Do you know what I mean? I'm not perfect. I mean, I'm perfect in my imperfections. You know what I mean? And I think certainly even recently in my own personal endeavours, there's definitely been parts of my shadow that's played out, you know what I mean? And I've had to go, I'm owning it. Yeah. I'm saying I fucked up here, do you know what I mean? Okay, I have lied and I have deceived, and it's parts of me that was just starving for connection, really, do you know what I mean? And it's difficult because the work we do, people put us on a pedestal, don't they? Do you know what I mean?
They dehumanise
and so you can't fuck up.
No.
You know what I mean? So you're almost like, I can't, and I tried to be, the one thing I always... I hold close to me is just be yourself. Martin, just be yourself, you know what I mean? Be authentic and let people see all of you. You know what I mean? I don't claim to be anything but just myself. And that's an ongoing process, as you know what I mean? Because people are going to naturally like you. People are going to accept you and people are going to reject you.
Yeah, of course.
And it is what it is, you know what I mean? And it's a part of our work that we have to own, don't we? Do you know what I mean?
And it's like at what point you call yourself out.
Yeah.
Do you know, like things go on in the background, certainly for me, for all of us, we're never healed. We're never whole. One thing that I've got is I have a pretty quick understanding that I fucked up here or I'm in my shadow and I'm very quick to hold my hands up and go, But sometimes it's just like you've been dehumanised to the point of no return. Do you know what I mean? It's scary.
Right.
Do you know? And I don't think it's fair. Do you know what I mean? But it's just the next right best thing that you can do, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I think everyone fucks up on a daily basis, you know what I mean? Or whatever that looks like and whatever that, may be perceived to be. But yeah, it's a massive topic. You know what I mean? I watched the programme the other week. It was just on it was about social media and all these sorts of keyboard warriors, you know what I mean? And inevitably, there's a lot of the shadow plays out where everyone's just almost wanting to bring people down. Yeah,
of course.
Do you know what I mean? Dehumanise people.
Yeah.
No one's allowed to fucking freedom of speech, or no one's allowed to express themselves in a place. And so this is what inevitably creates separation.
Yeah, of course.
Now we're not always going to resonate with everyone, are we?
No.
And we're not always going to be singing from the same hymn sheet. But it's learning how to own your own stuff and accept others. Accept others and come together in our indifferences. Do you know what I mean? In a way where it's almost respect.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean? Okay, that's your life. You do you, I'll do me.
Yeah.
There's a level of respect and acceptance. You know what I mean? Yeah, we might not be, I choose not to hang out, but there's a level of loving detachment there,
of course,
isn't there?
I was going to say detached with love, definitely, But again, I think this goes back to the fact that this knowledge is just not available, is it? Think that we're both very similar in the fact that one of the things that I think there needs to be is a conscious school. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I know we spoke about it in the past. I certainly, now that I've got this knowledge, I'm aware that, even down to the fact that me and my ex-partner are split up, and I can see attachment wounds forming in my children. Yeah. And I thought as a teacher of this, that it had never happened. I'm trying to grip the sides and stop it from playing out. It's got a traction of its own. Dad's left the home. That's right. The kids have got an attachment wound. They feel like it's not that he intentionally abandoned them, but he's no longer living with us. That's formed. So now all of a sudden I get out, my mum and dad have acted in a way unconsciously, but they didn't mean it with all good intentions, and I've become a collateral damage.
That's right.
We're all collateral damage.
Well, the people who love us the most almost become we get our deepest wounds from the people who love us the most sometimes, you know what I mean? Our parents.
Yeah, of course.
And they're just projecting their belief systems, which aren't theirs, their parents and their grandparents. Ancestral generations and generations and generations of belief systems. But then you've also got collective belief systems, haven't you?
Yeah.
So we're being, it's looking at ourselves can be scary.
Yeah.
Because it can be messy. Yeah. Can't it? You know what I mean? I use the analogy of you think, fucking hell, I'm a mess. Yeah. I'm a mess, And it's like it's like when you come at the house and the house is a mess.
Yeah.
And you think, where do I fucking start? It's just just start. Just start cleaning somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Because if you start cleaning somewhere over a period of time, you're creating a bit of order, aren't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And once, you know, and we talk about the work, you know what I mean? And I suppose it never ends. You know, anyone who goes, I'm fully healed now. And I mean, it is important that we do take a compassionate look and we live a life of awareness so we can live a life of integrity. Do you know what I mean? And so we can own our shit and come together in our indifferences and engage in authentic connections. That's what we're all really wanting. Do you know what I mean? And it's an abundant mindset, that, but certainly, like, it may take, you know, in your case, you know, a year, 2 years, 3 years, where, you know, you've been doing that work. There was time away. You were out of Liverpool. You had 3 kids, but that's not always the case for everyone, is it? You know what I mean? So it's learning how to do the work while still being in the marketplace. You know what I mean? You know, and whether that's, you know, retreats that you offer, which is massive. You know what I mean? Because then there's also a container. There's a community then for people to continue, you know, coming together and doing the work. And there's certainly now pockets of almost, you know, education and containers for people in Liverpool and beyond Liverpool to feel and start being educated on all matters related to the human experience. And it's And I think it's just this level of service now that we're here to do the work ourselves. We're here to share the work with others, and inevitably, what we're talking about here, it's a lot of universal principles. Do you know what I mean? They're just universal principles, Lauren. You know, and if we can, because it's the human condition. You know what I mean? It's human behaviour. You know, which we could call spirituality. Do you know what I mean? Or, you know, I know people, instead of saying spirituality, say, well, it's human behaviour. You know what I mean? And for us to start looking at ourselves and taking our time, you know, not rushing a process of healing. And certainly not, what's the one I'm looking for? You know, when, it's gone. But when we are, you know,
you're saying like goes from A to Z. Like that's what I fell into a phase of, like, give me my list and let's just go. And it didn't work like that. No, exactly.
It's got to be organic. There's a word I'm looking for, and it'll probably come to me just before we start checking out here. But you know, you come to a place where you almost feel like the house is quite clean. But you still got to hoover up. You still got to do the iron. You still got to do the washing.
You just got to be accountable every day, haven't you? Like, and check in. And I feel like sometimes you do fall off the wagon, and you're not, you know, you're not aware of your behaviour. Meditation massively helps. Do you know what I mean? I think it's got to be a routine, like not a resolution. It's got to be a routine every day. And I feel like what has happened for me now, and it's probably the same with you, my relationships are so connected now, so deep, you know, so nourishing. That's what kind of keeps me driven on keeping on checking in on my behaviour. You go from this individual
experience back to the us. You know what I mean? Because we are, you know, we're a species that loves to come together. You know what I mean? And when we actually come together and it feels clean, authentic, loving, and also we come together with an opportunity to communicate, you know what I mean, and to hold space for one another. They're the relationships that I know, you know, I know I want. And I know anyone who's listening to this conversation, that's what they want, you know what I mean? Okay, so we're very much coming towards, like, I mean, we could just talk and talk, and you know, it's the stuff we love to talk about, this stuff, and obviously we love to teach and hold space for. So moving forward for you, then obviously you're holding these retreats, and that's the main line of your work, I'm guessing.
So I do.
What does it look like? What does Wild Warrior Women look like?
So I am inspired by this gentleman called Martin Boone. I think you've got an incredible business model, and I know that we have, obviously, I think it's something that really inspired me, and I wanted to create that for the women. Do you know what I mean? And you were a great mentor for me then too. Thank you so much. I have the Wild Warrior Women walks, and then the walks lead into a course, a 6-week course where I do about the masculine energy and the shadow. That's incredible for me. And, you know, I'm now a facilitated certified breathwork, conscious connected breathwork facilitator. And I feel like I've gone full circle from drugs and drink to actually I am like this. So I'm not saying I'm like pure, but to a sense, like I understand now that God created us perfect and we can access healing from our breath alone, from prayer and meditation. We were created perfect. As women, we were created as miracles to create, carry, and care for these children. So I've went full circle now, and in these 6-week courses, them breathwork sessions are just wow. Yeah. To see the all,
You're taking people home, aren't you, as well?
The returning to this euphoric bliss, the screaming with the trauma and the stagnant energy flowing through them, and it lights me up. Yeah. Just watching them feel. That's right. Instead of filling the void. Yeah. So I have the 6-week course, and then that leads into the yearly retreats. So that's the way.
It's a nice model there, then, isn't it? You know what I mean? Yeah. Getting people out walking, connecting. Yeah. You're building trust. They're getting to know you, and then it's like, okay, there's an opportunity here. You can come and sit with me for 6 weeks. I'm going to educate you on all these matters related to the shadow. The alter ego, these masculine and feminine polarities within ourselves. You know what I mean? And then there's then a deeper immersion, isn't there? If you want to go deeper, where we're doing deeper breath work, there's more connection in nature, and we're releasing more shame if it's if that's something you want to feel into. It was spiritual bypass, and that's what it was before. You know what I mean? Sometimes we can rush the work, can't we? Bypass things when really we just got to take our time, haven't we? And it's organic, and to actually see life as it's driven by a journey. You know what I mean? Like, I know that, you're in this place now, and you look back, because, we perceive the past and it's a memory, and it's, it's something that we look back and it's like, well, we watch our story, don't we? And it's lovely to look at your story and to measure your past. Yeah. Because it's something for you to measure and go, wow, okay, and everything was in its place, and how I was playing out, and I'm coming to this position now where I'm aware. Yeah. We could, these terms, I'm awake, I'm conscious. And then, life is changing over a period of time, and then there's a sense of cleanliness to you. There's a pristineness, there's an authentic rawness. It's naked, it's beautiful, and and that becomes a clean mirror for the world, doesn't it? That you're demonstrating what it means to be a skilled human, do you know what I mean? And to stand in your sovereign right, and which is your birthright. Yeah. And then it's almost, there's a platform that all you got to keep doing is nurturing that nature. Yeah. Showing up each day, doing what you love, which is massive. Yeah. You're doing what you love to do, and you're offering a service to the world. Which is it's needed. Yeah, and it's I think needed. We spoke about it. It's like, I'm doing what I love by just being me. Being yourself. Yeah. There's no skills apart. It's because it's who you are now. Yeah. It's because it's embodied. Yeah. It's not like you're trying to teach, and you become a natural teacher because you've inevitably done the work, but you continue to show up into the work. It's, anyone who goes, I've done the work now. It's like, well, you got to keep polishing that stone each day. Yeah. And that comes with some sacred routines. You've got your morning routines, your breath work, your meditation, your connection to nature, your boundaries, your education, you've and your mentors, you know what I mean? But inevitably you're inspired by yourself, because inspiration's an inside job, and that's what I love about you. Yeah. You're just inspired by your own life, you know what I mean? And I think when we can, through and thank you for sharing your story, where you can inevitably go to them meetings, and all of a sudden for you to turn the gaze back on yourself, and then you go, right, okay, let's go. Yeah. And then you're able to look back, measure, and go, wow, I'm actually proud and inspired from the work I've done, and the work that I'm doing, and the person I'm becoming each and every day. And it's boss. I'm immensely, I'm watching you from the sidelines, you know what I mean? And I think it's really healthy work, not that I want to, because it's a totally different conversation. But there's a feminist movement, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and really, they are dehumanizing men.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I will be very clear. I'm not a feminist.
Yeah.
I'm a feminine woman, and I don't think that you need to drag men down, blame them, shame them to take your rightful place.
That's right.
Do you know, it's something that I am against completely. And I think that's why my work is so pure.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because when the girls hit my circle and they go to blame, it's like, no,
hang on a minute.
Absolutely not. Let's take accountability.
Yeah.
You know, for us, for what we can, you know, change what we can. And that's the beauty of it. And I think, you know, we've spoke about this before very quickly, but that's what people had the perception that the Wild Body Women was at first. You know,
it's a
six
feminist
at men.
movement. Let's fucking,
it's absolutely not. What you're actually getting is you're getting a lot of more higher conscious women who are doing the work, stepping out into the city, and with that they're going to be wanting and honouring men, and they're triggering, you know, I've got a lot of women in my circles who are now joining onto the courses, going to your retreats, you know, and isn't that gorgeous that like when husbands and men are stepping up and leaning in. I think it's just gorgeous. Do you know what I mean? It's very honourable, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think it gives us an opportunity to keep making sure we sharpen our own tools. Do you know what I mean? And it's something that, you know, and for us to become better teachers, we have to go into our darkness. We have to continue to integrate that stuff. You know what I mean? Instead of, you know, showing only the perceived good parts of ourselves, because then you're setting yourself up for a fall, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? So lovely conversation. You know, and
dived in too deep,
could have been a lot more. You know, talking about the you know, them movements. You know what I mean, and potentially how damaging they can be. You know what I mean. You know, because it just creates more separation, doesn't it? And but I'm inspired to just, you know, continue my own work and my own journey. And then just watch people like yourself who are actually just doing real work. But what's so inspiring is that you're a single mother. You know what I mean? You know, you've got 3 children, and you're holding space for all these women. But we said it's effortless. It's effortless because it's who you are. And that's an invitation for anyone listening. And I trust that anyone has been listening to this conversation today. Is, you know, we've just shined a light on a little bit of you know, the alter ego, the shadow, or our wounding, and all we've done is just spark maybe a process or inspired something. You know, there's a couple of people I mean, Carl Jung, he's one to certainly check him when we're talking about the shadow age. You know what I mean? I know you've brought a couple of books here. There's a guy I've had personal psychotherapist sessions off, a guy called Dwayne O'Kane. And he lives in Vancouver. But there's a, and that's inspired, like Matt Gunn, who's a breathwork practitioner. He's done a lot of work with the establishment that they've got called Clear Mind. Which is beautiful. So anyone who's just looking to check in with this, like just Google like the shadow, you know what I mean? The shadow, the ego, you know what I mean? You know, have a little look and trust that the right books are going to come to you.
I think there's a book called The Holistic Therapist. Do you follow it?
No, who's that by?
I think her name's Nicole. Holistic therapist. She's incredible. Anyway, big orange book, How to Do the Work. Yeah, nice. It's like, it's perfect. You know what I mean? It's how to do the work.
Great start, isn't it? Because there's, you know, because there's so much out there, isn't it? You know what I mean? I know there was a couple of books on the table there that you brought in.
Bringing Your Shadows Out of the Dark, Robert Augustus, and Elliot Saxby, Masculine and Feminine Polarity. It's incredible.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so anyone checking in, thank you for listening. This was episode 21. Been a great conversation. And yeah, I trust you've enjoyed it. And I'll be seeing you next time. We have no idea who's next. We're just going with it. You know, we're just having fun here. Authentic conversations with authentic people. And yeah, I trust you've got a lot out of this conversation. So thank you so much for tuning in and supporting this platform. And it just gives me an opportunity to keep showing up and bringing these wonderful people into the studio and to share the stories, because we've all got a story to tell, and I think it's important that we share who we are. So have fun, be yourselves, and I'll see you all on the other side for the next episode of Creating Space. Bye for now. Creating Space is sponsored by the Scouse Guru app, an all-purpose meditation app that feeds into all your needs, developing peace of mind, increasing mental focus, lowering stress levels while discovering inner stillness, awakening your potential and educating you on all matters related to human behaviour and personal development. Download the app for free on the App Store or get it on Google Play today.